Along train tracks in the dark of night, through open fields in sometimes frigid temperatures, there's been a surge in the number of people crossing the border near Emerson, Manitoba, walking from the U.S. into Canada to seek asylum. Today, Public Safety Minister Ralph Goodale was on the ground to get a first-hand look.
We want to ensure that as this situation unfolds, that our agencies, the RCMP and the CBSA, are fully in a position to deal with all of the public safety issues and to keep Canadians safe.
So far, RCMP say 183 people have illegally crossed into Canada near Emerson this year. That's just the people they know about. Goodale announced the federal government will give $30,000 to local fire departments to cover the costs so far of responding to emergency calls.
There is no cap on it right now. Like, there is no end to it. So I have, in good faith, I'm confident that our costs will be covered.
Jay Imey is a volunteer first responder.
I'm starting to see more and more women now. We've had a couple pregnant mothers, a couple of young babies, young children.
He says the extra funding is a relief.
It's almost a third of our operating budget. So with that, we won't have to raise taxes, won't have to dig in and find other funds or steal from other pockets.
Conservative MP Ted Falk represents the area. He's happy to see federal ministers visiting the community, but wants to see the government take action to stop illegal crossings.
I think that's something the government has to figure out, because we need to make sure that the integrity of our border is protected and that we have proper border security here.
Goodale says RCMP and CBSA officers have been redeployed to the border to help meet the demand.
I want to make the point that all Canadian laws are being enforced.
Still, as temperatures warm up, it's not clear how many more people will make the trek into Canada this spring. Alana Cole, CBC News, Emerson.
More than 20 missile launches, 2 nuclear tests, and a satellite launch seen the world over as a long-range missile test. Never in North Korea's history has the testing been as fast and furious as it was last year. Monday's missile suggests a return to business as usual. Kim Jong-un is in a rush. Experts say he will not ease up until he can truly threaten the United States.
It's only a matter of time until the North is able to successfully launch a long-range missile tipped with a nuclear device aimed at the U.S.
North Korea describes itself as a nuclear state, a term Washington says it will never accept. One policy at least the Obama and Trump administrations agree on. President Trump believes China must do more to rein the country and its leader in. But the more North Korea tests, the more it improves. The next 4 years are crucial. So what options does US President Trump have?
Do you negotiate and try and get some kind of freeze, which is politically considered unacceptable in Washington? Do you step up sanctions, which so far haven't worked? Do you take military action, which leaks from Washington in recent days have suggested are on the table? All the options are bad.
This man knows the regime well. Tae Yong-ho was the number 2 in North Korea's London embassy before he defected last summer. He says Kim Jong-un does want a new relationship with President Trump, just as long as it's on his terms.
He will never give up his nuclear development.
A nuclear program that's Kim Jong-un's insurance plan against what he calls hostile US policy. Frequent claims that if the US were less threatening, North Korea would have no need for its program. International recognition or personal safeguards, no matter what the underlying reasons for Kim Jong-un's nuclear and missile push, experts do agree that the progress made by a country that's so heavily sanctioned and isolated is remarkable and dangerous. Paula Hancock's CNN Seoul.
弹道导弹技术进行发射活动有个明确的规定。中方反对朝方违反安理会的决议进行有关发射活动。中方也注意到，目 前北韩正在进行针对朝鲜的大规模联合军演。在当前的形势下，有关各方都应该保持克制，不做相互刺激、加剧地区紧张局势。
미사일 발사를 감행한 것은 중대한 오늘 북한이 우리와 이제 북한의 핵 미사일 도발은 우리 마음으로 볼 때 북한 정권의 북한의 추가 도발을 억제하고 국민들이 군은 굳건한 한미 연합 방위 태세를 바탕으로 됩니다. 김정남 안내 또한 정부는 이분과 이 상황을 극복해 나갈 수 있도록 마음을 함께해 주시기를 바랍니다. 반복적인 다른 실효적인 대부분 정부와 우리 군을 믿고
The executive order signed by the President earlier today protecting the nation from foreign terrorist entry into the United States is a vital measure for strengthening our national security. It is the President's solemn duty to protect the American people. And with this order, President Trump is exercising his rightful authority to keep our people safe. As threats to our security continue to evolve and change, common sense dictates that we continually reevaluate and reassess the systems we rely upon to protect our country. While no system can be made completely infallible, the American people can have high confidence we are identifying ways to improve the vetting process and thus keep terrorists from entering our country. To our allies and partners around the world, please understand this order is part of our ongoing efforts to eliminate vulnerabilities that radical Islamist terrorists can and will exploit for destructive ends. The State Department will coordinate with other federal agencies and implement these temporary restrictions in an orderly manner. Our embassies and consulates around the world will play an important role in making sure.
Vice President Mike Pence's office is reacting to reports that he routinely used a private email account for state business when he was governor of Indiana. The Indy Star breaking the news that Pence communicated with senior advisors using his AOL account, discussing topics including Homeland Security. The Star's Tony Cook spoke to CNN about the email records which the paper obtained through a public records request.
Probably the most sensitive thing we did see was some requests and updates about investigations. In one case, a terror investigation.
Pence's personal email account was hacked last summer during a presidential campaign in which he was a vocal critic of Hillary Clinton's use of a private email account and server.
Why doesn't she go ahead and release all the 33,000 emails that she did not turn over to the FBI and to the Congress initially?
Former Clinton campaign staffers, including her former press secretary Brian Fallon, expressing frustration with what they call hypocrisy.
To learn that the vice president himself was now, using the same practice, it is just another indication of how hypocritical all the attacks were against Hillary Clinton.
Pence's office stressing that his use of the account was legal.
The vice president's office sent us a statement saying that Pence didn't break any laws.
The office also rejecting any parallels between Pence and Clinton.
They've also said that any comparison to Clinton is absurd.
I'm Reed Binion reporting.
Governor Andrew Cuomo laying a wreath at Yad Vashem, the Israeli Holocaust Museum. The lessons of the past, especially relevant today. More than 100 bomb threats called into Jewish community centers across the United States. Jewish cemeteries vandalized, headstones knocked over. New York has not been immune. Late last week, more than a dozen tombstones were toppled in a Jewish cemetery in Rochester. It's being investigated as a hate crime.
When you start demonizing differences, it's a social cancer because now the body is feeding on itself. And it has to be addressed forcefully, in my opinion, and immediately. Zero tolerance for racism, for discrimination.
Yeah, baby. Israeli politicians have watched the surge in anti-Semitic acts from afar, taking to Israeli TV and social media to speak out against anti-Semitism in the United States. Many in Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government stayed quiet until after President Donald Trump condemned anti-Semitism, most recently in a speech before Congress.
We are a country that stands united in condemning hate and evil in all of its very ugly forms.
Netanyahu, who was quick to invite European Jews to come to Israel after attacks in Paris, has not once been critical of Trump or even voiced his concern, even as Trump's advisor, Steve Bannon, faces repeated accusations of anti-Semitism.
There is no greater supporter of the Jewish people and the Jewish state than President Donald Trump. I think we should put that to rest.
Netanyahu has urged caution and expressed optimism with the Trump administration. The first time Netanyahu has ever worked with a Republican president. An opportunity too great for Netanyahu to risk, even if it means overlooking the criticism Trump faces in his handling of a wave of anti-Semitism. Oren Lieberman, CNN, Jerusalem.
All 50 Mexican consulates in the U.S. will now have this defense center where legal aid and advocates will come together to help any Mexicans who may have questions about legal aid, their own immigration case. And this is a service that will cost the Mexican government $54 million. They'll have to use about 300 temporary workers to make sure that human rights are not violated for Mexicans in the United States. That's certainly been something that has been said to be a priority for the Mexican government. Just days ago, the foreign minister at the UN said that if human rights are violated for Mexican immigrants, they will seek justice. The foreign minister certainly made it a point when Secretary Tillerson and Secretary Kelly came to Mexico to visit, and even the president, Enrique Peña Nieto, has said that this is a priority not only on Twitter, but also in speeches. And we're seeing the demand in consulates in the U.S. Mexican consulates have said they've seen a rise in demand of consular services, and call centers set up to answer any questions that Mexicans may have also seen a rise. So this is sort of the response from the Mexican government, one that has become stronger with time. Leila Santiago, Mexico City.
This is Duterte country, the southern city of Davao, the Philippine president's hometown. Rodrigo Duterte served 7 terms, more than 2 decades as mayor. Supporters say Duterte transformed the city from one of the Philippines' most dangerous to one of the safest.
He's very effective. He's very inspiring.
It's a very safe city. Many people here in Davao City are disciplined.
That discipline includes strict rules, a nightly curfew for minors, a smoking ban, an early cutoff for liquor sales. But Duterte is most revered for his bloody crackdown on crime.
It would be better to kill drug suspects or persons who are generally involved with drugs rather than seeing civilians or innocent people getting killed.
For years, there were rumors that Duterte himself would cruise around at night on his motorcycle, hunting and killing drug suspects.
Duterte has admitted to personally shooting 3 people he calls criminals.
At least I kill to protect people.
All while encouraging police and the public to do the same. During his 22 years as mayor, a UN report and human rights groups documented a wave of mostly vigilante killings, death squads across Davao. Duterte admitted their existence, but then denied any involvement. Now the vigilante killings continue. Thousands of deaths nationwide now that he's president.
And if you really destroy my country, I will kill you.
Critics say he's creating a culture of fear.
They take killings is just normal. And this is not normal, no? This is not what we are as Filipinos.
Clarita Alia says Duterte's drug war destroyed her family. She shows me photos of her 4 teenage sons, all killed by vigilantes. She sleeps in an empty marketplace stall in the same Davao slum where they died. Why were my sons killed at such a young age, she says. During our interview, passers-by heckle Alia for openly criticizing Duterte. People should speak up, especially the victims, she says. If they remain silent, the suffering will continue. She's one of the few people here who believes the killing must stop, or at least is willing to say it out loud.
روسیه و امریکا تلاش دارند برای جلوگیری از درگیری و برخورد نیروهای کره یپگ و ارتش ترکیه در شهر منبج یک خط حائل میان این دو برقرار کنند. بر اساس خبرهای منتشر شده پس از آنکه ترکیه اعلام کرد که قصد دارد به سمت منبج حرکت کند، تعدادی از نیروهای امریکایی در شمال شهر منبج مستقر شدند. همزمان ارتش اسد با پشتیبانی روسیه نیز در جنوب منبج قرار گرفته. خبرگزاری دولتی ترکیه میگوید با چنین آرایشی نیروهای پیاده عملاً در محافظت امریکا و روسیه قرار گرفتند. ترکیه یپگ را یک گروه تروریستی می‌داند و خواهان عقب نشینی آنها به شرق رود فرات است. اما همزمان روز گذشته شورای نظامی منبج در بیانیه‌ای اعلام کرده که یپگ به شرق فرات عقب نشینی نکرده و قصد ندارد این مناطق را ترک کند. این خبر برای ترکیه آن اندازه اهمیت دارد که اغلب روزنامه‌ها به آن اشاره کنند. حریت می‌نویسد آمریکا خودروهای زرهی خود را در منبج مستقر کرد. حریت همچنین خبر از یک سورپرایز و سناریوی غیرمنتظره در مورد عملیات رقه می‌دهد. روزنامه سبا به نقل قول از نخست وزیر ییلدیریم و در کنایه به حضور نیروهای امریکایی و روسی در اطراف شهر منبج می‌نویسد منبج محل مسابقه پرچم کشورها شده. ییلدیریم همچنین از دونالد ترامپ خواسته تا از حمایت نیروهای یپگ دست بردارد. در پی تیره شدن رابطه ترکیه با آلمان، زیگمار گابریل وزیر خارجه این کشور در تماس تلفنی با مولود چاوشوغلو همتای ترک خود خواهان عادی سازی روابط دو کشور شد. چاوشوغلو در این تماس تلفنی به او گفته اگر خواهان رابطه با ما هستید مجبورید یاد بگیرید چطور با ما برخورد کنید. با این روش نمیتوان به روابط ادامه داد. این لحن تند مقامات ترکیه نسبت به اروپاییان از آن جهت است که این کشورها مانع برگزاری میتینگ‌های حزبی و تبلیغاتی دولت ترکیه در کشورشان شدند. همزمان روز گذشته آلمان برنامه سخنرانی تانر ایلدیز وزیر سابق انرژی ترکیه در شهر فرانکفورت را هم لغو کرد. روزنامه یعنی شفق در اردوگاه دولتیان که معمولاً تیترهای درشتش تندتر و زهردارتر از هر روزنامه‌ای است در خطاب به اروپاییان و مخالفان دولت می‌نویسد جواب ما به اروپا 70% رأی آری در رفراندوم خواهد بود. اما پیشنهاد جالب از سوی دولت باقچلی رهبر حزب حرکت ملی، حزب رقیب AKP حالا که اردوغان خطاب به اروپاییان گفته من اگر هر لحظه اراده کنم به اروپا می آیم و شما نمی توانید مانعم شوید، باقچلی هم به اردوغان گفته بیا با هم برویم. پیامی که خیلی به دل دولت ترکیه خوش آمد. هم نخست وزیر ییلدریم از او تشکر کرد و هم ابراهیم کالین سخنگوی دفتر ریاست جمهوری در پیامی توییتری او را ستود. باقچلی و حزبش از موافقان آری به رفراندوم هستند. همیاری و همراهی او بود که تا اینجای کار حزب عدالت و توسعه در مسیر تغییر قانون اساسی توانسته است گام بردارد. همراهی که البته انتقادات زیادی برایش به همراه داشته و حتی در مواردی مخالفان در داخل کشور او را متهم به معامله با دولت ترکیه می کنند. و البته در اردوگاه مخالفان کمال قلیچداروغلو رهبر حزب جمهوری خلق میگوید سیستم پارلمانی ترکیه ادامه خواهد یافت، موضوعی که روزنامه خبر ترک به آن اشاره کرده. روزنامه استار هم البته در طعنه به قلیچداروغلو میگوید کسی به قلیچداروغلو بگوید که در سیستم جدید نخست وزیر نداریم. روزنامه همیشه منتقد جمهوریت هم می نویسد حزب AKP هدفش ساکت کردن مخالفان است. اما روز گذشته از یک نظرسنجی گفتیم که مدعی بود تعداد مخالفان رفراندوم یک برتری نسبی دارند. نظرسنجی دیگری البته روایتی کاملا متفاوت دارد و حکایت از برتری 10% موافقان رفراندوم دارد. با این همه نمیتوان تنها به نتایج متغیر نظرسنجی ها اکتفا کرد. در فاصله حدود 40 روز تا رفراندوم هر خبر یا حادثه‌ای میتواند به خلق موقعیتی جدید بینجامد. و خبر آخر آن که پروازهای چارتری از ایران به مقصد ترکیه از 16 مارس و در آستانه نوروز آغاز خواهد شد. انتظار می رود حدود 30,000 گردشگر ایرانی در تعطیلات نوروز از شهرهای توریستی ترکیه بازدید کنند. در شرایطی که صنعت گردشگری ترکیه با افت شدیدی طی 2 سال اخیر روبروست، برای ترکیه حضور نوروزی گردشگران ایرانی در این کشور حائز اهمیت است.